In today's podcast, I want to talk about the Judases of Africa, how some leaders betrayed the continent's dream. Africa's history is filled with tales of courage, resilience, and ambition, but it is also riddled with betrayal, moments when those who should have defended their people's dreams chose personal gains and Western approval instead. These modern-day Judases of Africa have, time and again, halted the continent's march towards unity and self-resilience. The tragic stories of Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba, and Muammar Gaddafi stands as painful reminders of how betrayal from within has often been Africa's greatest enemy. In Nigeria, they say if the enemy within cannot harm you, enemy from outside can do you no harm. The first Judas I want to talk about is Blaise Compaoré and his betrayal of Thomas Sankara. Thomas Sankara, the revolutionary leader of Burkina Faso, envisioned a truly independent Africa. Under his leadership, Burkina Faso saw sweeping reforms, land redistribution, women's rights, anti-corruption policies, and a breakaway from neo-colonial dependency. Sankara inspired millions across Africa by preaching self-sufficiency and Pan-African solidarity. Yet, betrayal came not from far away, but from within his own circle. Blaise Compaoré, Sankara's close friend and confidant, orchestrated a coup in 1987 that ended Sankara's life and dreams. Encouraged and supported by foreign powers who saw Sankara's revolutionary ideals as a threat to their interest, Compaoré paved the way for Burkina Faso's return to neo-colonialism. His betrayal marked one of Africa's darkest hours, demonstrating how internal greed can be deadlier than external threats. The next person I want to talk about is Joseph Mobutu Sese Seko, who orchestrated the death of Patrice Lumumba. Patrice Lumumba, the first Prime Minister of the Democratic Republic of Congo, was a symbol of hope for post-independence Africa. He boldly called for Congo's political and economic liberation from Western control. However, his vision was short-lived. Mobutu Sese Seko betrayed Lumumba under the heavy influence of Western intelligence agencies. Mobutu seized power, had Lumumba arrested, handed him over to his enemies, who brutally executed him. In return, Mobutu received decades of Western support, ruling Congo with an iron fist, while enriching himself in his country chained to foreign interests. Another Judas, another dream destroyed. The next person on my list I want to talk about is something that actually happened very recently. And it's no other than Yoweri Museveni, Uganda's president, and what he did to his once close friend led to the fall and isolation of Muammar Gaddafi of Libya. Muammar Gaddafi was not without his flaws, but his ambitions for Africa were undeniable. He dreamt of a United States of Africa with a single currency, army, and economic system, an Africa that would stand tall as one against external manipulation. Gaddafi poured immense resources into the African Union and supported leaders like Uganda's Yoweri Museveni. But when the time came for Yoweri Museveni to support Gaddafi and his dreams for a united Africa, did he do that? No, he turned against him. Museveni chose personal survival over continental unity. He publicly opposed Gaddafi's vision, aligning with Western powers to preserve his own power. Museveni blocked Uganda traditional rulers from attending Gaddafi's meetings on African unity, criticized Gaddafi in international forums, and cooperated with the West, contributing significantly to Gaddafi's political isolation. Let's not forget that when Museveni was fighting the civil wars in Uganda, Gaddafi was one of the main people who supported him not only with arms, army, and money, but also poured a lot of resources into maintaining the infrastructure of Uganda. This was solely not because Gaddafi loved Museveni alone, but he had a great affiliation to Uganda as a whole from the time of Idi Amin. When Gaddafi needed solidarity most, Museveni turned his back on him. Another Judas trading Africa's future for personal comfort. And the last on my list is Alassane Ouattara. He's literally the new Judas happening right now within our time. The new Judas undermining African solidarity and the bold leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso. Since assuming power in 2010, Ouattara has been praised in Western media for bringing economic growth and stability to Ivory Coast. However, this progress marks a dangerous reality. Ouattara has steadily aligned himself with Western interests, often at the expense of African solidarity and his own people. Today, Ouattara plays a pivotal role in destabilizing neighboring Burkina Faso. Under his watch, Ivory Coast has reportedly become a hub for planning and executing chaos against the Burkina government led by Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Rather than support a fellow African leader striving to prioritize national sovereignty over colonial subservience, Ouattara has chosen to undermine him, much like Blaise Compaoré betrayed Sankara. Captain Traoré has emerged as one of Africa's brightest hopes. A young, dynamic leader, Traoré has pushed back against foreign influence, placing the interests of Burkina Faso's people above those of former colonial masters. His policies focus on land reform, resource nationalization, and self-sufficiency, echoing the visions of Sankara before him and Patrice Lumumba. Traoré's popularity among the Burkina people and beyond is growing precisely because he represents a break from the puppet regimes that have long stifled Africa's potential. But with leaders like Ouattara working behind the scenes to destabilize Traoré's government, the struggle remains fierce. Ouattara's willingness to serve as a Western pawn to counteract Traoré's progressive government illustrates the enduring nature of betrayal in African politics. Instead of supporting Traoré's effort to free Burkina Faso from neo-colonialism, Ouattara seems intent on preserving a status quo that benefits foreign interests more than African people. His actions represent not just a betrayal of Traoré, but the entire African dream of self-determination. So, in a nutshell, the greatest enemy of Africa are not from outsiders, they are from within. Because if there are no willing participants, they will not be able to inflict this much damage in Africa. Africa's story could have been very different had it not been for the betrayal of its own sons. Blaise Compaoré, Mobutu Sese Seko, Yoweri Museveni, and now Alassane Ouattara. These men chose the comfort of foreign approval over the difficult but noble path of true African liberation. Yet hope remains. All hope is not lost. As long as leaders like Captain Traoré rise, and as long as African people continue to see through the facade of puppet regimes, the dream of a united, independent Africa will never die. Betrayal may slow the journey, but it cannot stop the tide of history forever. Just like the way Sankara was stopped in Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré rose from those ashes. And in every African country, as time goes, this is what we believe is going to be happening across Africa. Africa's true heroes, not its Judases, will ultimately write its final chapter. Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you like the content of this podcast, can you please like, share, comment, and subscribe? And look forward to being with you in my next podcast. Thank you.